So our summer soiree starts now. It is Wednesday, Black Wednesday. I am Pat Sloan, and I am in a festive mood to kick off our summer soiree. Gotta have something fun. I even have a tiny one of those that you'll see in the pictures. Okay, so what is our first block? It is all about the Twinkle Lights. It is a wonderful way to kick off our talk about summer parties, summer soirees. A soiree is a party. It is often described as an evening, a small evening party in a home generally, but we're going to expand that out over the whole 12 weeks that we're sewing this. And summer soirees are going to be all kinds of different things. But I got a little bit dressed up, put on my fancy nails, ta-da! Earrings, and I'm just ready for a party. So what does our block look like? Here is what I ended up with, and I want to show you the process I went through of selecting these fabrics. Looking at your fabric selections you have available for Twinkle Lights is so much fun when you have the first block, because when you have the first block, you're making a lot of decisions and you don't really have anything else to look at. It isn't like you've already made 5 blocks and you're like, okay, how does this one fit in, or how much background have I used? Here it's a clean slate on block number 1, which is exciting. It also means that maybe down the road you might change your mind, and that's okay. So if you pick something today and then decide down the road it doesn't fit as well, then you'll remake it. And that's just the way it is when you're doing a sampler. Sometimes it's easier to just remake it later if it doesn't fit. And that goes for any block that you're doing along the whole time that we're doing summer soiree. So let's take a look at what I have here. This line is called Fig and Shirtings from my friend Joanna Figueroa. And let's see what I've got. I pulled a few out already. This is what I have for background. But this line has a lot of lights. In here, these all have light backgrounds. There's a bunch of them with light backgrounds in my particular fabric bundle, which means I am going to more often lean towards picking a light to use instead of always just going for my background. And that is going to be my go-to during this whole process, is first looking at the lights and saying, oh, is there one here that will work? I also have two pieces of black, and we have a couple pieces of red, 2 pieces of red. This more deeper colors, there's not quite as many peaches, more blues, more greens, and then down here we actually have a couple of these peach tones. I'm going to audition for the Twinkle Lights black and red. Red, everything red. So I'm going to take these 2 to begin with and see what I came up with, because I picked a few options, and that's how I'll show you how I audition for that. Let's move them to the side. And I'm not going to use the background for this one, for mine. You might use it for yours, because your fabric bundle might be entirely different. You may not have all these lights to work with. You may have everything is much more like this, and you will need that background fabric. So I can, looking at the pattern here, I can roughly audition for color and not have to cut anything. So this has both gray and red in it. And I'm looking at doing the star points in red, and then the little black squares, these little squares in black, and then that leaves the center. So I have a whole stack here. Let's see what the different centers look like. So there would be one with a lot of red, like a red check behind it, with the black check behind it with the red red flowers. This is the same print in gray. And the stars will be the whole way around. So you'll have, it'll be surrounded by red. It won't look that washed out. Now I pulled a gray, which also has red in it. So you can see here, red, gray, red, and black. So that all is a really cohesive block. And because this is a summer party, I think that that's kind of a fun way to go. And I could just do red, red, everything red. The whole center is red with the darker red, or I could go with the same print that I started with, but this is the one with the red background. See, here it was with the black background, and there it was with the gray background. So you have 3 different options. And the red background is really nice. It's very soft. But what if I wanted to go totally different? What if I wanted to use yellow here? Well, then this piece doesn't really suit it as well to me. That doesn't jive. There's much better options. I have better options. So I could take and do this. So now I have this yellow with the pops of red, this yellow with some red in it. There are the other yellows in here are actually more solid looking, you know, so they wouldn't be as good for that background unless you really, really want a all yellow. That's like a yellow tonal background. You could do that, or you could pick something in the background that didn't have the gray, like a little bit different. So let's see. Here is one. It's kind of neat. It has a pattern like a, you know, herring, no, like a, you know, it's a diamond crosshatch kind of pattern. That's neat, and any center could go in there. You could switch it out. You could have this, which has a little bit bolder red to it. Remember, these star points are going around it, so it'd be a red center. All right. So, you know, keeping that I want to keep red, I really like using this one. So I'm going to go here, and then the middle, I am going to go with this lighter red, you know, rather than the gray or the black. I really like the black in there too, but I think I'm going to go with the red, so that the red star has this little light red center. All right, I'm going to go sew that up. I find it really useful to put the design board here. I've got the pattern over here and the design board where I can put everything down, match up the star points. I don't know, for some reason these stars always mess me up, and I have to look really carefully to be sure I've got them all going the right way. So here are, everything is down on the little design board, and then I also have my red, white, and blue starter and ender blocks up here so that I can put one in and then sew up the block. So the reason why I started off with Twinkle Lights as the block is because when I want us to have that sort of sparkly, fun feeling to kick off this whole thing. Now, I was looking around and I was watching actually part of Bridgerton, the movie, and they even showed this little clip in their trailer, but I have a picture here of when the entire party was done outside and all the guests were arriving to this outside party. All of a sudden, all the lights started twinkling on, and you went from this, and if you watch the trailer, I'll link it at my website today where you can go watch this little clip from one of the shows. It is just, for me, one of the most magical moments. Can you just, you know, just anytime I see lights, it just lifts my mood and puts me like right in the party atmosphere. So that's why I wanted to start with party lights. It doesn't seem logical as far as building a party. We're going to talk about other components of building a party for this sew along, but I think that once you have your own spirit sort of uplifted and ready for this, the lights are going to help. You could light candles while you're sewing your block. You could go and put on some string lights. You could get some string lights for your sewing space, for your outdoors. You can see it through your window. We have them in our umbrella on our deck, which I can see off of my space. So I want to show you what this would have looked like with different centers that we just talked about. So I have here we go. I have two of the other centers. I thought I'd sort of lay them on top there so that you could see. There we go. That one would have been really good too. I mean, I like this. I like it because it's lighter, but I think that that's also a great one. And then here is the same fabric, but in the gray, because remember, this has got the gray in it. And you know, black and gray are really classic, which is what I sort of liked about starting it off with this. And that's nice. It feels like a little blah though. It's not quite, just a little bit. So definitely love that one. So the other thing that we're doing every week for Summer Soiree is I'm going through the Whiskey in a Teacup book and just finding something fun to share with you from the book, because this is a delightful book. Reese talks all about the different things growing up, the things that influenced her, funny things, funny stories. And this time it was all, I found this one section called How to Hot Roller Your Hair. So yes, she is literally giving us a how-to on rollering your hair with hot rollers. I just think this is a riot because there she is going somewhere in her car. It just cracks me up. But my Nana swore by the sponge rollers. Now, so her hair was shorter, it's probably about my length now, and she did sponge rollers every night religiously and then slept in them. And now I'm going to have to go get some sponge rollers in honor of my Nana. I grew up in the 70s and early 80s. Before perms, before you did perms and you fussed with your hair, you basically was like, let your hair grow as long as you could and you don't touch it. So your hair would just be long and there would be no cutting of it, nothing. That was just what we did. It was to see what it looked like. But I love going through this book and finding these little gem of stories. You're ready. You are now released to sew. You can go out and get your Twinkle Lights sewn and make your area festive for our Summer Soiree sew along. See you later. I love you. Mwah. See you online.